Hello soldiers and friends, and welcome aboard. I have not gotten any footage yet as of making this, so the footage may be a bit old, reused, or non-existent. This video is going to be split into a lore section and a gameplay section. So, most Helldiver factions consist of some cool lore and a reason for the faction to exist, and a bunch of friends come together and try to organize some sort of movement or ideal for the Helldivers community. The Firemoth Coalition, however, has custom rule sets and tactics using those rule sets that create a unique gameplay loop tied to the lore of the faction itself. On the surface, the Firemoth Coalition is a full-on tactical way of playing Helldivers, designed to make you and your friends feel like Special Forces badasses. Not just through the lore you've attached to your diver, but to how you play as a Firemoth agent. But before we get into the juicy gameplay bits, let's talk a bit about the lore of the Firemoth Coalition. The Firemoth Coalition Strike Force is operating under the High Command adjacent Strike Command. Strike Command is a unique branch of Super Earth's armed forces that operates outside of High Command's orders, but often alongside those orders. The Firemoth Coalition is an elite task force whose agents are taken from the most accomplished Helldivers, who are then given extreme training regimes to ensure their effectiveness in the extreme environments Coalition agents are subjected to. In particular, a Firemoth operative is trained in the necessities and application of teamwork and squad-based tactics, something that is sorely missing from standard Helldiver training. After being taught and drilled these tactics, the operative and his assigned team is placed into a myriad of different natural environments and taught not how to survive, but how to live off each planet's unique resources. All of this is to ensure that an operative and their team can do their job to the utmost efficiency. Their job is a little complicated. In a nutshell, a Firemoth team is composed of guerrilla warfare experts, trained to strike far behind enemy lines before disappearing into a planet's natural hiding places. Their training ensures that the team can continue in this way for days or weeks without extracting once, and to do so requires a tight rein on resource usage and ammo consumption. To aid in this endeavor, each operative is equipped with specialized loadouts designed to cover a select purpose so that no space is lost on an agent's kit, and each agent's loadout is purpose-built to cover the shortcomings of another so that no operational efficiency is lost. The specific jobs that a Firemoth agent undergoes is highly varied. It can be anywhere from sabotaging atomic supplies, containing bug breaches, rescuing lost Helldivers, or hunting down treasonous traitors. Although a normal assignment has more to do with sabotaging and spying than with shock impacts. Except those guys, they do their own things sometimes. Additionally, as each operative is trained to be part of the Coalition and acts within the Coalition, should they decide to act outside of the Firemoth, they are absolutely permitted to return to their originating faction or group to continue diving until the Firemoth calls upon them again, almost like a superhero of sorts. In fact, the Coalition permits and encourages members to boast about their faction of origin so that the teams can get to know each other and all parties involved profit from the Coalition's efforts. It is a coalition, after all. We're almost done with the lore section, so bear with me. The peak of Firemoth activities. The Deep Strike. I loosely explained the gameplay for Deep Strikes in the Battle for Bannerpoint video, but I will contextualize it for the lore here. A Deep Strike is simply when Strike Command, or High Command, needs something important done that no normal SEAF force is capable of, normally requiring coordination between several teams of Helldivers and often undertaken behind the front lines. These missions are often long and arduous, and most commonly Command wants them done with few casualties, low exposure, or at the least, an air of secrecy. All things that the average force of Helldivers struggle to achieve on a good day. The objective of Deep Strikes vary vastly from each other, but most often include lengthy sabotage or supply processes on enemy movements, supplies or weapons, rescue for long-lost Helldivers or Super Earth personnel, or even the establishment of secret bases or commando stashes laying the groundwork for future operations. And lastly, Firemoth teams are simply groups of operatives that are trained to work together and who know that they work well together. As of the making of this video, there are only 2 teams formed. Led by me, Domino is the epitome of Firemoth doctrine and efficiency, often prioritizing stealth, Domino Squad excels at fighting by the book, and is strict in their adherence to Firemoth tactics. They are also innovative, spearheading the development of new tactics and always pushing the boundaries of the doctrines to the maximum, taking the name of Domino to show their willingness to fight to the last alongside those they care about. They may be sneaky, but there are no cowards here. Inferno is a recent addition as of the Siege of Cyberstim, where they earned distinction during the battle for Banner Point. Optimized for shock assaults, Inferno Squad are a bunch of little chaos gremlins that cause controlled havoc wherever they go. Their motto, where Inferno walk, Asher ruin follow, pretty much sums it up, but they also gained a battle cry of their own during the battle for Banner Point. What hill? They joked when leveling a hill they were ordered to take. I think that concludes the lore, so let's get into the real meat and potatoes of the video and dig into the gameplay. Okay, so I didn't write a script for this part yet, so some of this is just straight ad-lib, and other parts of it I am going to be taking from the currently being written Firemoth handbook, which has all of the information about to talk about in a document format, so still working on that, but this will be very wild and cut and sporadic, so bear with me. Okay, so real quick, the Firemoth Coalition outside of the lore is just a Discord server where a bunch of Chad Helldivers and I come together to play the Firemoth project, which I'll get into in just a second, organize deep strikes and Firemoth activities, and sometimes just play games because we're friends and we do that. So the Firemoth project, what I just mentioned, it is the special method, or at least it's what I call the special method, in which Firemoth Operatives play Helldivers 2. It aims to increase immersion, skill, and team play. The Firemoth project is primarily the result of a single concept, the roles and specializations, or roles. A role is defined by being specialized in a specific way of playing, namely anti-tank, anti-infantry and horde, medical support, and fire support. Each role in the Firemoth project is designed to do one of these things. However, this is important, each role is intentionally designed to be bad at all the others. Why? Well, the roles are designed this way for several reasons. First, it drives home the elements of team play and coordination in the team by forcing the operatives to rely on each other or on the other roles. And second, it is more effective when done right. As I mentioned before, each role fills a function and is inept at other functions. The four roles are the following. The Forward Assault Expert, which is anti-infantry, high rate of fire, heavy armor most of the time, and is prioritizing removing medium and light units. So Devastators is the FAE, or Forward Assault Expert's priority. Next is the Anti-Tank Specialist, which is exactly what it sounds like. For short, I will say ATS, so that's the Anti-Tank Specialist, which, go figure, anti-tank, high damage, explosive firepower, that stuff. Pretty simple. You see a heavy unit, you shoot it. The third is the Medical Support Agent, or the MSA. Also pretty simple, but a little bit more difficult to actually play. So focuses on high stem supply and the supply pack in particular. It's not required to bring a supply pack per se, but it is highly suggested. And normally the MSA will bring sentries and cover stratagems as well. And specializing into these will oftentimes require the MSA to forego bringing a support weapon at all, which means that they have significantly less firepower than any of the other roles. Next and lastly is the TSO, which stands for Triple S Operative. Each S is sniping, scouting, and security. So in total that would be sniping, scouting, and security operative, for short, TSO. The TSO is the most complex and difficult out of all of the roles, both to explain and to actually play. when everyone is playing in such a tight group and always moving together, fighting together, doing all this stuff in this very tight team, what became one of the biggest issues was having enemies flank you, having patrols spawn behind you, or bot drops drop in where you're not expecting them, and that is exactly what the TSO is designed to counter. Okay, so that is covering the roles and the specializations, which is the largest and most pivotal part of the Firemoth project, and things like it have kind of been done in other factions before, but to my knowledge, not to the extreme that the Firemoth have taken it, and the extreme is done in such a way that it's just trying to just like moving in this tight team CQB situation, all that stuff. You see that, you go, whoa, that looks badass. That's pretty much what the Firemoth is trying to do. Last thing for the gameplay, and then I will input a example of a Firemoth mission here at the end of the video. The last thing before we get to that is the explanation of the gameplay for deep strikes. I said this before in my Battle for Banner Point video, but in the simplest terms, a Delta Sierra or Deep Strike is basically like a mini D&D campaign or D&D session where the teams that are active in the operation are the party members, and I am the Dungeon Master. Alright, so let's go through the Deep Strike in a more description that's more qualified for Helldivers itself. So, the Deep Strike is separated into what are called sequences, and each sequence has a general objective. A team needs to do this, and B team needs to do this, or in some cases, A team has a choice of this and this, B team has a choice of that and that. Also, for any current operatives, the footage in the background right now is showing what is called tactical pace. So when you keep hearing me talk about that right there, that's Jelly and I doing it. This is the first time tactical pace was ever done, by the way, and what gave me the idea. It's pretty dope. And here is where things get interesting. If or when a team fails an objective or otherwise does not reach the most satisfactory outcome for their sequence, one of the other teams in the operation receives a penalty on the next sequence, the next session. Okay, so what this is doing is this is representing multiple teams working in unison to undertake a complex assignment beyond Super Destroyer support oftentimes, or just in the same area, both supporting and detrimenting each other in simultaneous action. So, recap real quick before we get an example. A Deep Strike is like a D&D game. It's where you have multiple sequences. A Deep Strike is multiple sequences, and each sequence has an objective that a team is undertaking. And as teams succeed or fail those objectives, the next sequences in the Deep Strike get bonuses or negatives depending on the team's previous fails and successes. They are their own self-contained narrative story, completely separate of in-game operations as well. So when I say an operation, I'm not meaning an in-game operation of 3 missions. I'm meaning an operation as in the Deep Strike operation. So let's clarify this with an example, because I'm kind of rambling, I think, and this probably sounds incredibly complex, a lot more complex than it needs to be probably. But an example. So Team Alpha has to take out a certain number of jammers. Team Bravo has to destroy AA emplacements. Alpha succeeds, they took out the jammers, but Bravo fails, they did not take out the number of anti-air emplacements in a proper amount of time. On the next sequence, Alpha Team is still exposed to the AA fire and cannot use Eagle stratagems in their next objective. Conversely, if Alpha Team then was not able to complete their objective, their next objective, because they didn't have Eagle support, because the anti-air wasn't taken down, Bravo Team would now start suffering from that failure in whatever way would seem acceptable for the narrative, as well as it being fun. Okay, so this has been just kind of a long ramble, but let's wrap up this Deep Strike section here. What I'm trying to accomplish here is a game where the 4 players in a Helldiver team are not just coordinating with each other. This is not just a 4-man team in a single operation. This is these 4 Helldivers cooperating with another 4 players or more. This Deep Strike can go from 2 teams, 3 teams, 4 teams, however big I make this Deep Strike for. This is where the Firemoth is trying to go. This is what the Firemoth is trying to do: enhance teamwork between each other, between the teams, enhance relationships and friendships between the players as they get to work together, and allowing Helldivers to work in larger teams than just the 4-man team that the game allows. 8-man, 12-man, so on. Alright, so that's enough about talking rules and lore and all that. I'm going to go ahead and get into a example footage here that's just showing the highlights of a game or two that me and some operatives played. If I say to break, to run, to basically do anything else, you're free to move however. Or if we start taking fire and you have to move. Because I say, hey, standard pace guys, you know, let's not run around, and you're taking fire, it doesn't matter. Move. It's not
standard pace, man.
Yeah, it's not an absolute. It's not an absolute.
Standard pace.
All right, let's go support Blackstar over here with this patrol. Oh.
Start drop.
You could take that hole.
Here, I'll slow him down.
Perfect.
Alright, where was that war strider?
Mark.
There he is.
You push in once the shot goes out.
Oh, he's still up. Down now.
Nicely done.
Bunker.
Dang!
Okay.
Alright, I'm moving with Ranger.
Moving up to Phoenix and Rangers. Beware of the EMS.
Yep.
Try not to get hit by that.
Skirting around it. There's a dude over there.
Alright, return to standard phase. Okay. Let's hit that POI there. We can reassess the situation from there.
Blackstar's just grabbing height.
Alright, this here is a pretty decent example of the role system. The FAE is moving out front taking fire. I, the MSA, am dropping cover to make sure we're covered. And that buys enough time for the ETS to pull a shot and take off the War Strider. The TSO is currently watching our backs, making sure patrol doesn't walk up on us. The cool tactic being put to use in this training match here. So instead of doing the normal role system, what we're doing is we're using the tight-knit group of a Firemoth team that is fostered from the role system to make very exemplary use of the team reload strategy, with one person carrying the weapon in a supply pack and the other person of their little group carrying the actual ammo backpack for the weapon. And this is being mirrored across both groups of 2 players, with those 2 groups of players both working together to target different enemies.
Like, I have to actually learn the art of my weapon. I think I'm pushing shots when that happens. There we go. Alright, I'm half on ammo.
Okay, Kinger up top with me, prepare for contact.
Going up.
Going down a sentry. Deploying sentry. How'd you like to take all freedom?
Tank, Annihilator.
Scoot. There we go.
I'm not even touching my controller right there.
Oh, we just collateraled those guys.
Oh, around on top of us, huh?
Stagger support.
I trust you.
That's what I'm talking about,
That didn't last very long.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so I just really want to highlight this clip here and everything that just happened. So we got stuff coming in, right? I just ordered Operative Kinger to join me up on top of the hill to use the team reload recoilless to start devastating all the lighter troops. Meanwhile, the other fire team, that being Operative Ranger and Black Star, have already begun shooting with the recoilless. Well, attempt to take out the first drop. I start unloading with the autocannon, and Kinger is able to join me. And right here, the other fire team takes out the tank first, right there.
I'm not even touching
I start
the controller
shooting
right
with the autocannon, team reloaded,
Oh, we just collatered those guys.
and other kill team just took out another target right there, 2 of them, and then immediately takes out another dropship. I'm still shooting with the autocannon here, and the moment that the second kill team, that being Ranger and Black Star, are not using the autocannon, or the recoilless, pardon me, not using the recoilless, they immediately rejoin me and Kinger, who are still team reloading, to give us cover while we're team reloading. That was uncommunicated. That was just training kicking in. Like, that was
Stagger support.
that was beautiful. They're both here giving us cover. It's so beautiful. I love it.
Trust you. Up on the ridge.
We did it.
Oh my god. It's so good. It's so good.
Anyways, this has been a long and fairly unrefined video, which is I'm a little bit ashamed of. But anyways, this has been pretty much just a rant about it. A lot more of a rant than I would have liked. I prefer to be a bit more scripted, but I hope you enjoyed it anyways, and I hope you learned a lot about the Firemoth Coalition. And as always, if you're interested in joining, there will be a link in the description for the Discord if you wish to join up. So, thank you for watching. Hope you learned something.